What if I told you that creating 40 pieces of content every single week isn't that hard? I do this every single week, and I can tell you what's probably holding you back is your fear of posting, your need for perfection, and just staying consistent. So as a solopreneur, I create over 40 pieces of content every single week. I'm going to show you exactly how I do it. Here's the recipe. Let's just start with the breakdown first. So every day I try to post stories, Instagram stories, at least 5 times. So 5 times 7, that's 35. I also try to create 5 unique reels, 1 a day for every business day a week. 35 plus 5, now we're at 40. Every Thursday, I try to post a long form video. That's what you're watching right now. More of a studio video, could be a podcast interview, something of more value, more breakdown, certainly a little bit longer. And then every Friday, I try to publish a newsletter, captures and really summarizes all that other stuff. So there's a theme in that newsletter, focuses on the long form. You can link to any other short form content. So that alone right there is over 40 pieces of content, and I do that 52 weeks out of the year. So how do you do that? Let's show you. So these are my 3 rules of how I create content every week. Number 1, document, don't create. You've heard me say this before. Not everything has to be perfectly curated, written, and filtered. You simply grab your phone, you say what you're doing. Here I am at Video Lab creating content. It's part of the journey, right? Bring your audience along in the journey. Let them buy into you and the business. People want to work with folks they know, like, and trust. So give them an opportunity to know you, decide if they like you, so that they can then trust you. Stories are that behind the scenes content that in the moment, here I am, it's raw and it's real, and you should be doing it every single day. Doesn't have to be hard, be quick and easy, but just make it honest and make it authentic. The second rule is I'm giving you permission to publish. The world needs to hear from you. You have something to say, and your own unique perspective is different than anybody else in the world. So what you need to do is believe that. I always say the work instills the worth. So the more you're creating the content, you're actually working on yourself. So first of all, make sure it's about someone else and it's not about you, right? If you have a service, if you're a coach, if you're a consultant, if you're a designer, if you're a service provider, you have something to add to the world, and someone out there needs to hear your version of that advice, of that story, of that framework. But the work will also do just as much on you as it does on somebody else. So as you shoot that content, as you write that blog post, as you create that script, what you're learning how to do is to package your ideas, to speak more clearly, to speak more simply. The more concise, the better, more provocative, whatever it might be, you're doing work on your own ideas and on yourself as a presenter, as a salesperson, as a marketer, whatever roles you need to take. So the work instills the worth. Give yourself permission to publish. The third thing I do is try to make a weekly upgrade. We talked about this last week in our video, but if you commit to weekly upgrades, you'll allow yourself to get to the point. I wasn't always making 40 pieces of content a week. We had to scale up there gradually. Let me show you how. So lots of ways. One thing that we've done by feeding a lot of our content to AI, we've created a John bot. That John bot allows us to create like LinkedIn posts, captions for our Instagram reels, captions for our YouTube videos. We can now generate content in seconds that's trained on my voice, on my ideas, and honestly, sounds pretty good. If you continue to work with the AI, tweak it, that'll allow you to create this content machine that's taking your ideas, blasting them out into the world. Another upgrade, as a solopreneur, I now don't have to schedule the content either. I love creating the content. Honestly, I hate to schedule it. So I have hired a virtual assistant, and she knows we build the content calendar out each week. We load it up into ClickUp. We got our Kanban board with the whole week of what's in production, what's in editing, what's scheduled, what needs a caption, and fire it away. So content's going up on Instagram, LinkedIn, Facebook. We record the content, edit it, produce it, add the caption, thumbnail, publish. Right? I'm treating myself as like the talent and creating the system around to produce and scale the content. The other thing, by letting somebody else publish and post your content, it takes away that fear of publishing. You're not only giving yourself permission to publish, you're actually delegating that permission. You've handed it off to somebody else, so now they have to publish because it's their job. So it takes the emotion out of it, it takes the fear out of it, and all of a sudden it just shows up and then it's live in the world. The last thing you need to know is to build a content pyramid. Now, what I mean by that, if you know those like Russian stacking dolls, right? There's a big doll and then a smaller one and a smaller one and a smaller one. You can do that with your content. So think about what your anchor content is. For me, that weekly long form video, what you're watching right now, is my anchor content. From that, we can then cut that up into several reels to post our 5 weekly reels. We then can create stories to share ideas or thoughts that we already created on those reels, and then package that long form video with some help from AI into a weekly newsletter. So by creating the one master or anchor piece of content at the bottom of your pyramid, you're then creating a flywheel that allows you to stack and create more content. So how do you get to 40? You start with one really killer piece of content. So if you're trying to build a business on the back end of content, you're trying to create a media brand, a personal brand for yourself, make sure to do these 4 things. Document, don't create. Give yourself permission to publish. Invest in weekly upgrades and build your content pyramid. If you want to see some of the weekly upgrades that I'm making, I just made a video about it recently. Check that one out and you'll see how you can commit yourself to weekly upgrades and play the infinite game on your content. Also, if you want to see what a content pyramid looks like in action, check out the description below. There's a link to our free resource. It shows you exactly the pyramid that we build. Follow that template so that you too can create over 40 pieces of content every week.